empower you all this evening of your time and to create time to exist. Before we begin this idea of the interaction this evening of your time, allow us in this way to share with you some ideas of some of the release and channeling and transformation of electromagnetic energy that is shifting in your planet at this time. And simply remind you that without necessitating the idea in any way, shape, or form of what you call fear, without generating in any way, shape, or form the idea of needing what you call panic, in this way, allow us to remind you that we did, as you say, quote unquote, promise to keep you posted. Therefore, in this way, though nothing in your terms is, as you say, chiseled in steel, all things are still malleable as always. At the same time, our sensing of the energies, the idea you call electromagnetic and physiological crustal shifting, in this way, therefore, will be felt, will be perceived to be, at this time, high degree of probability of activation, once again, in the area that has been already to some degree activated, what you call borderline zone, the area you call between your area, California, your area, Nevada. Highest degree of probability as the energy is sensed to be what you call tomorrow of your time. Probable release of energy in magnitude, what you call high 6 and or in 7 range. Following what you call Thursday and or Friday of your time, high degree probability, energy magnitude in areas you call ranges of 5s for the area you consider to be around your own locale. These are electromagnetic fluctuations, low vibrational energy fluctuations as they are being perceived in many individuals in this way at this time, and represent not a certainty, but a high degree of probability that these gateways, these releases, these channelings of energy in your physiological earth can find themselves manifesting once again on what you call the 23rd, 24th, and or 25th of this your present month. You all follow along?
Yeah.
In this area, once again, there's an opportunity for you to understand that many of the ideas of the shiftings and electromagnetic energies that are taking place and are being released at this time is your opportunity to know that you are allowing the whole idea of all the shifts that need to take place in minute quantity, allowing yourself to release and transform and rechannel this energy in more positive ways, allowing yourself a bit at a time to shake yourselves up in this way, to gain the level of energy, the level of excitement, so you can rechannel this energy through you in more positive ways, so that you now can understand you do not have to manufacture the idea of a release of this type of energy in a negative way, a catastrophic way, a destructive way. For you now are beginning to understand that you know you deserve ecstasy, you deserve happiness, it is your birthright, and you do not have to do anything special, nor do you have to go through a trial by fire in order to know you deserve this idea. Your transformation can be one of ease, can be one of excitement, can be one of ecstasy, can be one of creativity. And in this way you are giving yourself an opportunity to avail yourselves of some of this energy, releasing it in minute amounts, acceptable amounts, comfortable amounts that you can assimilate, allowing yourself to come to terms with the idea of all the different symbolic manifestations, subconsciously, unconsciously, archetypically, of the area in which you live, to know it is a high energy area, it is a moving area, and that is why you have attracted yourself to this position on your planet. In this way, you are at one of the primary energy nodal points of your planet. It is situated along the so-called fault lines, which represent the fracture zones of the crystalline place of your world. So you are finding yourself at an area, very close to an area, where there is an apex of all of these lines that represent the culmination or interstices of many different facets of the crystalline idea that your planet is. As you find the crystalline becomes more aligned into its fourth density matrix, then some of these subtle shiftings will occur at different places around your world. Once again, it does not have to be represented by the idea of a catastrophic shift in this way, but you yourselves are allowing yourselves to feel this energy in minute amounts, comfortable amounts, acceptable amounts, so that you know that you can utilize it, it can invigorate you, it can excite you, it can move you ahead. You can rechannel and transform the energy of anything in your physical reality into something that will allow you to know and sense your own momentum, your own forward motion, your own transformation, and your own crystallization, all of the shiftings of magnitude that take place within your physiological energy field, all of the emotional patterns that are falling into place, all of the disorientation that you are feeling in this way, all of the magnetic disorientation. You are simply finding that you are putting yourself into a limbo state that allows you to know you are unlocking previously from one reality and allowing yourself to float in between the choices of the realities you will experience in fourth density. For there is only, in your terms, a very short period of time left in which you can allow yourself to float in such a free state limbo, when all ideas are equally available to you in this way, so you can choose what ideas you wish to represent, the fourth density reality, the physiological reality that you wish to experience, when you allow yourself to begin to solidify into what you have called the new age, the fourth density state. You are now in a free-floating zone, a limbo state, a free zone. All possibilities are open to you. This is why you are finding all these shiftings to take place until it settles into an understanding of what it is you prefer to be. Then you will simply, as always, find yourself exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there, interacting with exactly whom you need to interact with, and you will understand that even if there are individuals upon your planet that have chosen to experience some of these shiftings in a negative way, you will simply not be present, having already unconsciously, subconsciously, or collectively consciously led yourself into another area where you will simply be able to know that such an idea, such an interaction is taking place, but you will not have to have the negative experience in that way because you simply know what reality you are. Are you all following along?
Yeah.
Therefore, in this way, there is no need for fear, there is no need for panic in the idea of this so-called prediction. As we have said, there is no such thing as a prediction of the future, only a sensing of the energy that has the highest degree of probability at the time the prediction is made. That can change, and many times the prediction in of itself has to do with changing the outcome in that way. It is up to you, but simply recognize this is as the energy is sensed by us, by many individuals upon your planet at this time, and it simply represents one more opportunity to feel the release in an acceptable way, at acceptable levels, at comfortable levels, of the energy of the shifting going on your planet, so that it can allow you to bring yourself to terms with all portions of yourself, so that all the different plates and facets that make up the being that you are can all shift and settle comfortably together to form one multidimensional crystal that will allow you to live your life as you desire it to be lived. Sure.
Bashar, I'd like to thank you for some information you shared with me back in the fall, and I went on to do some music that I felt in my heart, and the financial end is coming together.
Thank you.
And I did dedicate one of the pieces to you.
Thank you. In this way, once again, thank you for being a reflective example that if you simply act upon what excites you the most, then all necessary ingredients that are necessary to support the idea you are willing to be will automatically, synchronistically be there, because in this way, every idea comes complete with all the ingredients necessary for the continuation of the manifestation of that idea, because the universe does not do extraneous and or pointless things. Thank you for being such a willing reflection.
You're welcome. Is there any way I could share that music with you that you would be able to hear that? Or have you heard it already?
We can feel to some degree the idea in this way as it blends in your field, as it blends in the general field that we perceive all of you to be together. It adds a richness and, in a sense, a sweetness to the overall interaction of the energy that we perceive, if I may put it that way.
Thank you. The name of the piece for you is Ancient Sky.
Thank you. We have been in many.
You're welcome.
Sure.
I have a couple things.
Oh,
First
what?
of all, about earthquakes and creating your own reality. We've had two fairly recent earthquakes And I live in Santa Monica, right near the ocean. And both times the building was affected, and both times in the middle of the night, my roommate Carrie woke up and saw her furniture moving around the room. And after the first one, which I didn't wake up for and didn't experience, I told her I thought it would have been interesting had I woken up. And so the second time, when she woke up, she came into my room and saw that nothing was moving. It was as if nothing was going on in my room, and she was having an earthquake in her room. And I think that's interesting because we were obviously creating our own reality. Our rooms are only 5 feet apart. So I thought that was really neat.
Thank you for recognizing once again the literalness of the idea that you are your own universe.
Okay, and I just want to share parts of 2 dreams and kind of explore them a little bit with you.
Oh, what?
About a week ago, part of the dream was I was standing outside in a square of some sort with some people, and I believe I had brought them out there. It was at night because I had seen stars fall from the sky in front of me. And so I brought them out to see these stars fall, and lo and behold, we watched stars fall right from the sky in front of us. And that's it. And I was wondering, because usually I don't have dreams of that nature. I don't know, and it doesn't seem very complicated, but I was thinking perhaps that...
Is that a sign of validity? It's complication?
No. But usually they're so straightforward, and this is in some ways, that I wouldn't bring them up with you, because I don't think I've shared any of my dreams with you before. And this one I want to explore a little bit.
All right.
Because I thought, in a sense, it meant that I will experience certain things and then I'll want to share them with other people and assist them in making it part of their
And
reality.
you can be, in a sense, a magnet and an attractant for the understanding of the creation of bringing the heavens to earth in this way and completely reorienting the foundations, or what you call the firmaments, upon which you have always relied in your reality. Recognizing that it does not have to represent something so stable any longer, and that all the patterns of what you call astrology are now beginning to blend together.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And last night, part of my dream was that I was sketching a model wearing some clothes, and there was an older woman who was looking over my shoulder. And as I was drawing the lines of shading around the neck, I realized, I think, afterwards upon waking up, that I was seeing the lines like on the astral plane over the image, and then just kind of tracing them. Thanks.
The older woman is you, your future self in this life, assisting you, speaking back through time to you to guide your hand to your own future.
Oh. I thought it was because in the dream I was aware that the spirit plane was assisting me.
Right.
Wow.
Thank you for being so self-reflective.
Well, thank you.
Bashar,
Hey!
what will happen if I leave my job?
Are you leaving your job to do something that excites you most?
I don't know.
What does excite you?
I don't know.
Oh, come now. Understand that when I ask you what excites you, I am not asking you to define the idea that you think would excite you most in your entire lifetime. What, of all the things that are immediately accessible and available to you to do now with whatever skills and abilities you have to do anything with, what out of all the things that are immediately obviously available to you excites you most? Anything at all?
It's very hard. I don't know. I've been thinking about it for quite some time.
Perhaps you are simply, once again, assuming that what you have to come up with has to be something monumental, something that would stand out. Right now, I will assume that what excites you the most is being where you are. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. When this interaction ends, so to speak, what then do you think will excite you the most? Will you go home? Will you go somewhere else? What will you do? Do you know?
No.
All right. Will you act upon whatever you feel would be the most enticing and exciting thing to do once this interaction is at an end?
Yes.
Then why worry? If you are always following your instinct and simply doing at any given moment what it is that excites you the most, you can take it for granted that you will always be leading yourself exactly where you need to be, and you do not have to look for anything that comes with trumpets to understand that you are simply being the path you chose to be, and you can simply enjoy who and what you are. And if you have the inclination to change or transform the idea of what you do for a living, then simply trust that if your decision comes from the cognition of what is true for you, then no matter what it is that will happen, will and can only be representative of the continuance of the path you chose to be. So you will be just fine. All right. But you.
Thank you.
Shooting!
Bashar, I was getting the feeling listening to her talk that maybe she's just really merged with everything.
Maybe.
Nothing really needs to change.
Some individuals on your planet do worry when they don't find anything to worry about.
I heard on the radio coming over here as a talk show, and the guy was telling us he was 30 and he still was looking for the meaning of life. And the lady, the doctor, said, well, you probably haven't grown up yet. When you get to be 30, usually you know there is no meaning. It's just,
To live
there
it
to live it.
is the meaning of life.
And that maybe for some people who are more merged than others, nothing is going to stand out as being any better than anything else.
Because
Everything.
all things are equal. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the feeling.
Has that assisted you?
No, as
All right.
a matter of fact, I would disagree 100%.
Oh,
that's
why?
me too.
Why?
Because I feel that there are responsibilities.
To
and
who?
there's- To yourself as to loved ones.
Responsibilities to, yes. Responsibilities for, no.
Okay.
Do you understand the difference?
No.
Responsibility to someone is being completely who you are, being completely true to yourself. You cannot be responsible for someone. What they choose to experience in their lives is their choice, not your responsibility.
Okay, I'll buy that.
All
And
right.
responsibilities too.
All right, but understand, responsibility to someone is while functioning within your integrity, while interacting with those individuals in the ways that you have attracted into your life to represent the obvious interactions that you know you do wish to have with them, at the same time being responsible to them is acting upon the things you know to be true for you. Now understand that what that individual said in no way, shape, or form actually contradicts anything you believe in. It is simply a matter of differing terminologies.
That I'll agree with you.
Then in this way, allow yourself to recognize that all the individuals, all the objects, and all the situations around you can always afford you the reflections and the answers that you need to find if you are willing to adapt to the understanding that even though someone else's terminology may not be yours, they may still be saying the same thing. And that is the equality that was being spoken of. You follow me?
No.
All right. When you allow yourself to feel in your life that it does not matter per se what you do, that there is not anything that in and of itself stands out, it can be, as was being suggested, an indication that you have arrived at a point in your life where you understand that the way to attract into your life the thing you desire most to do, the way to attract that is by allowing it to be no more important than anything else that could be chosen by you. When all choices you could make, are equal, then every choice is on the same level. You don't have to reach for it, nor do you have to climb to it. Nor, in this way, do you have to bring yourself up from something less than where you think you are going.
So what you're saying is that every single choice has its own merit, its own validity,
Absolutely.
and whatever.
But in a sense, though they are all different, they are all equal. They are all fundamentally neutral and do not come with built-in meaning. You supply meaning to any event. All events are fundamentally neutral.
Okay, but when you ask me what you would want to do,
Yeah.
of course, the natural human response is I want to do the
Speak
things.
for yourself.
Okay. My own
It is,
natural
in your
human
terms, not
response.
natural human response. It is learned human response.
Okay. My response would be I want to do the things that I like,
Which is?
which I have to decide what I want to do. And you're right that I feel that as each moment comes along, you're right, I will pick which one I like to do. And I think that's very right. However, a lot of times that I find for myself
Yeah.
that when I pick something, it just might also turn out that I don't like it.
Then it has served you by granting you an opportunity to see and experience something you do not prefer, thus giving you an opportunity to know what it is you do prefer. That does not mean that just because it has allowed you to recognize what you prefer, that you have to judge that experience as being something less than what you prefer, because it has served you equally by giving you an opportunity to know what you do, in fact, prefer.
Okay.
It is only when you judge or invalidate what you do not prefer that you automatically fixate yourself on the thing you don't prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are saying that it has more power to hold your fascination than what you do prefer.
Mm-hmm. So in a way you almost prefer that.
Yes.
I'll buy that.
So the idea is, in fact, to do what you are doing. Relax. Letting all things be equal is what will allow the ideas you prefer to paradoxically stand out.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that assist you?
Yeah, I like it.
It is up to you. Your choice. Only a suggestion. Your life. Thank you.
Bashar?
Hey!
Well, what about goal setting? What about
it?
I mean, what if what you're saying is that if you set everything up so that it all appears equal in your interpretation of things, then,
All right.
you know,
The idea of goal setting is that you can use it as a tool, as long as you do not rigidize it with expectations. You can become very excited by setting yourself a goal, having a visualization of something that would excite you, that you desire very much. That is all well and equal. The understanding is that you are using that as a model. Now, that is not to say that the goal cannot manifest totally, specifically, literally, because many times it does. As long as you are willing to understand that it does not have to, and yet the same effect can still be created in your life, then in whatever way, shape, or form the situation or the so-called goal needs to manifest, it will. You will still have the same feeling you expected you would have, even when you thought it had to manifest in the specific way you envisioned it, or set yourself up to have a goal. Because simply, setting the goal is what allows you to move in that direction, but it does not necessarily give you all the different doorways. It does not necessarily give you analytical, conscious awareness, nor does it have to give you analytical, conscious awareness of all the different doorways through which that goal could be realized. Thus, to put a very rigid expectation, well, if that goal does not manifest exactly this way, if I do not exactly do this A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, then there is no way that goal can manifest. If you structure it that narrowly, that rigidly, then you may actually be responsible in that way for closing all of the doors through which the so-called goal may have manifested quickly in this way, easily in this way, and, quote-unquote, unexpectedly in that way. When you put the expectation that your goal has to manifest exactly as you have envisioned it, you are only allowing one doorway to be valid, and it may not be the quickest doorway. Simply know that having a goal, having the visualization, is your way of activating your engine of excitation, emotion, desire, Emotion. Energy, motion. That is what realizes, manifests your belief. So simply take it for granted that if you know something excites you, if you know you have a desire for a certain idea, certain goal, certain feeling, certain situation, simply know you are, quote unquote, kicking yourself in that direction. You are that vibration. You could not be anything else because you were able to conceive of the idea to begin with. You have to be what you conceive. You are what you perceive. You are the vibration. You are the thing. Only that your society believes that there must be a necessary intermediate process in order to become what you have imagined you desire to be. So you do not simply let yourself, in the imagining of it, be the thing already and begin to act like you are already that thing. Acting like you are already the thing you have imagined is what will allow your physical reality to begin to transform into a reflection of that certainty, of that knowledge. But your civilization says, no, my imagination is not real. Thinking the thing, imagining the thing is not the same thing as being the thing. It is not the real reality. Therefore, I must find, I must search, I must discover the necessary process that will allow me to attain at some point in the future this manifestation I wish to achieve. Way out there. When you know that you are the thing, when you know that you must be on the same frequency in order to even be able to conceive of an idea, and you simply begin to trust that that is so, and act like it, then the physical reality, which is the shadow of your soul, must conform to the new shape the body of the soul has taken. Does that assist you?
Very much, but I have one thing I wanted to ask you.
Oh, right.
That sounds really great, but if you decide that you're going to be this thing that you envision for yourself, how can you just automatically start acting as if you're that thing?
Thank you! It is very simple.
Well, I mean, you can't be a brain surgeon overnight. I mean,
Oh,
you
yes,
have to go to school for years.
Can't. No.
Or if you want to do something that requires
Are you paying attention?
No.
Thank you. You can, in what you call the twinkling of an eye, be anything you believe you can be. It is only a preconceived, taught conception that you can't be. Now understand. We understand that, quote unquote, it is rare in your society. But there have been individuals who have done it. And if one can do it, all can do it. Because one is all, and all are one. It simply depends upon the degree of need, the degree of desire, the degree of excitation, and the degree of knowingness, and the degree of trust. That is all it takes. If you totally, beyond a shadow of a doubt, knew that you were, in fact, the idea of a brain surgeon, you would be able to operate in the very next second. You would instinctively know what to do. You would instinctively know what tools to reach for, what nerves to cut and repair. You would instinctively know exactly what you were doing. Because the present is not a result of the past. All learning is simply, in a sense, remembering more of who and what you are. Recognizing that you create memory in the present will allow you to know that no matter what you have learned or what you think you need to learn and retain, you, in any given moment, can simply know whatever it is you need to know to be who you think or believe you are at that given moment. All it takes is that degree of trust. You do not think twice about something you know for a fact you own. It is only when you think you don't own it that you worry about it. If you had the same degree of conviction about being a brain surgeon as you do about the ability to walk 10 feet, you would be a brain surgeon. You don't think twice about being able to walk 10 feet. You follow me?
Yes.
because you simply allow yourself to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that that is something you can do. The same degree of trust, when applied to the idea of whatever it is that excites you the most, will allow you to be that idea, and you will simply have right at your fingertips all the information you need instinctively to function as that idea. That is how the universe works.
Then, Bashar,
Yes.
why is it that our society felt the need to create this sense of learning?
Because you wanted to explore separation and limitation. So the first primary prerequisite for being able to explore that idea is to forget that you are in control of it. Otherwise, you cannot experience limitation. Now you are at the end of the game of limitation. That is why you are beginning to explore this integration, learning about more of yourself, finding your spirituality, and understanding that you are connected to the universe. That is the beginning of what is going on right now in your society, the remembrance of the fact that you are the creator of your reality. But you did wish to experience limitation, and for many tens of thousands of years you have. Until now you have arrived at the point where you are masters of limitation. This is a tool you no longer need. You are at the end of that cycle. That is why we are now allowed to interact with you, because you have finally invited the possibility that there is more than just what you can immediately see around you. This is the beginning. You follow me?
Yep.
Please! Yes!
I have something I'd share with them. That experience that you just talked about happened
right.
to me. In 1969, I came from Australia to England, and there was an acting job going that was wanted by every actor in the world. It was to be the new James Bond after Sean Connery. I'd never met an actor. I walked in the door and got the job because I wanted to be him. And I had no reason to believe I couldn't be, because I'd never met an actor. They told me I couldn't do it. You see? And I had a Australian accent. I was supposed to have a different accent. I was supposed to be this. I said, the hell with it. Let me have a go at it. And there I was, 3 months later with the job, with all the guys scratching their heads. So I think that what he's saying is frightening, because I didn't want the job. You see, that's the mad thing about it. You get these things sometimes without thinking about them.
Perhaps your consciousness is not aware of the fact that you want the job, but the obvious physical reality speaks for itself.
Yes, but then when you get in there, it's a different situation than what you thought it was. And it's a responsibility to a lot of people that you don't want to be involved with.
All right, and responsibility to yourself.
Yes.
Thank you for your sharing and for synchronistically being present in this interaction to function as an illustration. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Turn!
Bashar,
You, then you.
I have not been here for a few months, and the last time I was here, I remember you having your hands a certain way and keeping them together.
There has been more blending, more acceleration, and more opportunity in this way to have the transformation of the energy to come through in different ways that are more, let us say, immediate. There are different communications being shared with you on different levels through what you are perceiving to be the motions of the physical channel's hand. There is more of our consciousness present than just what is being translated vocally, and we are in many ways speaking to you on other levels through the physiological actions you are perceiving, and on other levels that you are not physiologically perceiving at all.
Do they have anything to do with mudras?
In a sense, yes. They are representations to some degree of the nodal points, the balance points, within the overall mass consciousness energy matrix that we sense you all collectively to be. They are representative of fluctuations and vibrations within your soul patterns to some degree. Energy flows. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Hey.
Why is it taking us so long?
Oh, it is very simple.
Limitations.
Very simple. Understand that you create time, space. You follow me? Separation and limitation. Separating yourself implies that you need more time, space in which to experience the all that is that you are. Now you will find that as you begin to integrate, you will experience less time. It is simply the result and or what you call the product of the mode in which you have been functioning. Experiencing separation requires more time, because then you create more pieces to explore. When you pull yourself together into an understanding of oneness, you don't have to go as far or take as long. Therefore, that is why you will, now that you have begun the cycle of integration, only be physiological upon your planet for approximately 2,000 to 3,000 years more, and that is it. Tens of thousands of years of exploration of limitation, 2,000 to 3,000 years of exploration of integration in physical reality is all that is necessary for you. Then you will not be physiological any longer. You will go on to fifth density.
2,000 to 3,000 more?
Understand that because it will be the exploration of integration, and because you will be experiencing your ecstasy, and because therefore you will be enjoying every moment, it will pass in the twinkling. You know what to say when you are having fun. It is not really so much that time flies, it is that more literally you actually do not create as much of it. So things literally take less time. Living in the moment, living in the now, enjoying every moment for what it is, not needing to think that what you are going to experience in the next moment is going to be better, simply different, will allow you to experience.
This is a continuation, dividing of people that's happening now, plus prejudice that we have, that I have, and everyone I imagine has in this room, with color and creed and some eating habits, just general language. There's a lot of barriers there that I can see that are going to take a long time.
Maybe
to
not.
break through.
Now understand, it does not have to take a long time. And one of the reasons it would take a long time is simply because you are now stating that you have a preconceived judgment that it has to.
Yes.
That is the only thing that makes it take a long time. The belief that it will.
Yeah, but there's certain things that just upset you straight away, like smells.
These things, once again, you are assuming to be natural reactions. They are learned, and they can be unlearned.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, I've seen my children eat their, watch it in their napkins, and they think it's great fun until you tell them it's not.
All right, then.
And it's, so I must have been the same myself.
Yeah,
But somewhere along the line, someone said, that doesn't smell right, you shouldn't eat that.
And you believe them.
Yes. Now, how do I undo that? Just like that and say, hey, it no longer smells bad, you can eat that, that's fine.
Now understand, if you simply recognize in this way that it is not something you prefer, then so be it. But you do not have to judge it to understand you do not prefer it. And therefore, just because you prefer something else, as long as you are not judging what you do not prefer, it will not create any reaction within you at all. You simply will recognize perhaps it is not for you, but it will not create a negative reaction.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting.
It will be neutral.
Like I ride a motorcycle and I'm going along and I see people in cars doing their hair, doing their makeup, eating their, drinking their coffee and all that, and I feel like saying, hey, watch out for the other guy down the road. You mightn't care about yourself, but you're going to smash into somebody if you don't watch where you're driving.
Now, we are not saying that you may not be recognizing that they may not be functioning within integrity and they may in fact be creating a negative situation. We are not saying that that does not happen. All we are simply saying is that for yourself, in this way, you can begin to recognize, as any individual can, that when you begin to grant equality to the infinite diversity within your society, that is when you will afford yourself the best opportunity to actually begin to experience unity, and therefore rapid acceleration in change.
Yes, I see your point. But the thing is, how can I see it work? I mean,
thank you! Perhaps this way. Recognize, if you already don't, that nothing happens by accident. You follow me so far?
Yes.
Do you believe that?
Well, I don't know. Some people have invented things by accident.
No. Seems to be an accident, but never is. It is the idea that in your society you call synchronicity. It is simply that everything, all of it, everything comes together to reflect whatever an individual who is experiencing the idea believes their reality to be. Everything is the right place, the right time, exactly when and where it needs to be to reflect the beliefs that are ingrained in the individual having the experience. Therefore, recognizing that nothing happens by accident can allow you, rather than judging a situation that you may see, to begin to become fascinated by the degree of choreography present. There is absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt, no accident when you are, as you might have said, traveling in your traffic, in your automobile. It is no accident who is in front of you, who is behind you, what color their car is, what they are wearing, what color the clothes are that they are wearing, what time of day it is, whether they go to the left, whether they go to the right. It is no accident. Now, there may be relative degrees of, let us say, importance to you about what it is that's going on, but it is still no accident that you are there participating, because you, in entering this physical reality, made an agreement with everyone else to be of service to everyone else. Therefore, you will also, whether a particular situation has a degree of relevance to you or not, you will still agree to participate in that situation so that it might have a degree of relevance to someone else in that situation. So it is still no accident. Whether you can perceive what meaning it has for you or not is not necessarily relevant. The idea is that it does have meaning for someone, and it has meaning for you in that you agree to participate, to allow that someone else to see what they needed to see. So none of it is by accident. It is all choreographed. And if you allow yourself to begin to become fascinated by the degree to which it has been choreographed, then you will begin, perhaps, to unlearn what you have learned and cease to judge it, and begin to become fascinated and enveloped by the fact that you will begin to feel yourself being connected to all of these apparently singularized events, until you allow yourself to begin to feel as if you actually are all the events you are seeing. Then you will cease to judge it, because then you will recognize that all you are doing is judging yourself.
Very good. Very well said.
Thank you. Perhaps that will assist you.
It did. And, but it does sound a lot like hallucination.
Very good. May I remind you, there is a very fine line between what you think is solid and what is not. This physical reality is a hallucination.
Yeah, that's not for me to grasp right now.
It is all right. Because the idea is that the purpose that you have created in your life is being served by you imparting the illusion of solidity to this particular hallucination. Your purpose is being served by maintaining that illusion. So do not deny that you have a reason for doing so. It is all right if you do not feel you can grasp it. There is a reason why you don't grasp it. Simply trust that what is happening is what needs to happen. And you will understand what you need to understand when you need to understand it. Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes!
Lazarus has said that tomorrow, I believe, is the highest day of energy, or the day of highest energy in this year.
It is a gateway, and that is why it may be exemplified by the release of the shifting in your electromagnetic fields and crustal plates that we have indicated.
Oh, okay. Well, some of us decided to get together and have an impromptu tapping into this energy so that we can do some meditations to help create more of the reality that we prefer. Are there other things? I believe we could do this, all of us, any day.
Thank you!
It's kind of exciting that tomorrow...
Okay.
Oh, I guess I just answered it.
Thank you.
Excitement.
May I remind you also at this time, and take this opportunity to reflect from you, another day, another energy gate that we have already shared with some members of your civilization. What you call 7787 will be the end of the 40th orbit since 7747, which was the date whereupon your civilization understood beyond the shadow of a doubt that there were, in fact, other civilizations other than your own.
Can you say both those dates again?
7747. The date that your civilization discovered that there were other civilizations in the universe, beyond a shadow of a doubt. 7787, the end of the 40th orbit since the discovery. Understand that there is a repetition in your history of the idea that transformations between gates are represented by the cycle you call 40 days, 40 years, for a complete transformation from one idea to another. 40 days for an individual, 40 years for an entire civilization. 40 orbits. 7787 will be another gate, and there will be much acceleration from that point forward. With regard specifically in many ways to the understanding of whatever level of equality you are now willing to become with your governments, with your media, with your military, with regard to the idea of the expression of information that your governments, your media, and your military do in fact know beyond the shadow of a doubt that we exist. That is another gate.
Bashar, I know that you say that we're all one and we're all connected, but I'm curious about the idea of soulmates, individuals on the planet with whom
all right.
we have more.
You have made many agreements. In this way, do recognize that such agreements exist as you are referring to, but also do recognize that every individual you interact with, you have made an agreement with. And so for whatever particular interaction you are having, that individual is your soulmate for that moment. Understand also, again, many ideas about what you think a soulmate does for you. For many individuals will not allow themselves to be happy until they find a soulmate, but recognize they are only thinking that they need the soulmate to be complete, wherein, therefore, they are not willing to recognize they are complete already, and therefore only attract another individual to reflect their belief in their own incompleteness. When you know you are complete as an individual, do not need the relationship, then you are willing, in this way, to reflect your completeness. That reflection of your own completeness is what attracts the individual you made the agreement with to come into your life, to reflect your completeness to you, thereby seeming to be complete in themselves. Then you have an accurate mirror reflection of the idea that you are your own creator, and thus attract the soul mate that made the agreement with you to reflect that to you when you arrive at that point. But it takes you understanding that you do not need that relationship in order to be complete, that it is a reflection of when you are willing to know you are complete. That is what a soulmate is for. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Sure. Within the last 10 days, I channeled a female entity that had a very discreet message for me. And what I'm asking is, can you predict that I will go on to channel anyone else?
As we have said,
Is that it?
there is no way to predict the future.
All right, can you observe?
It is possible.
I understand it's possible.
Well then, you are the one to make that decision. Why are you asking me to perceive something as if it were completely and utterly fixed, when it isn't? If you decide right now to stop channeling, so be it. That is your decision, and therefore that is your reality. If you decide to open yourself up to more, there is always more that is willing to be of assistance to your planet at this transformational time. So you will make your agreements as you go.
There are always more?
Always.
Okay.
There is an infinite supply of consciousnesses willing to be of assistance to those that open themselves up to be of assistance in that way.
There must be an infinite number, I agree.
Therefore, follow your instincts. Do what excites you and what you enjoy. Recognize that nothing is going to push you faster than you are capable of handling, because then there would be no point. You would not be able to function in service. So relax.
Okay.
The more you relax, the more you will be cognizant of the agreements you are making, and the more you will recognize when something or one else is tapping in.
Okay. Is there any way to find that I've had an agreement with an entity that I'm willing to perform now?
Close your eyes.
Yes.
Take 3 deep breaths. Repeat after me. In love
In love
and light,
and light,
I
I
am self-empowered
am self-empowered
to acknowledge
to acknowledge
any and all
any and all
portions of my consciousness
portions of my consciousness
in whatever way
in whatever way
serves all concerned
serves all concerned
to allow me,
to allow
myself
to allow myself
to be of service
to be of service
and express
and express
my particular
my particular
and unique
and unique
manifestation
manifestation
of all that is.
of all that is.
That is it. Have pleasant dreams. You will make your connections.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bashar,
Yes.
I'm curious as to what you have to say about the disease A and when you think.
All right,
we
one
might
more
help.
time. Recognize very briefly, first of all, we will keep this succinct because there are ideas we have shared many times already and they are available to you. In this way, it stems primarily from a reluctance because of the exploration of separation that your society has been doing. It has created within itself, in a sense, a seeming illusion of inability to reintegrate certain portions of itself, specifically what you call the polarities of the male and female energy within each and every one of you. It is a reluctance to integrate those polarities of male and female energy that has caused a need in your society to have certain individuals choose to be born to exemplify what appears to be in your society the dichotomy or the polarization of an expression of a certain type of energy through a seemingly opposite type of physical being. Now, because that in itself also was not enough for the mainstream, let us say, of your society to accept that it has both energies within itself and to acknowledge an equality of those energies, you, quote unquote, you in general, the mainstream of your society, once again sought to judge those individuals willing to reflect that each and every individual has maleness and femaleness within them, and those individuals who were willing to reflect that maleness and femaleness took upon themselves to believe in those judgments and so recognized unconsciously that there was no other way to reflect back to the mainstream of society their lack of willingness to accept and adopt the blending of the maleness and femaleness within each and every individual, except to create within themselves a judgment upon themselves that would create a dis-ease that would force the mainstream of your society to come to terms with that section of society it had ostracized that was willing to reflect the idea of maleness and femaleness to them, by creating a dis-ease that, by symbolic implication, is the removal and the dropping of all barriers, so that you are forced to blend and interact and share compassion and come to terms with the idea of what it is to blend maleness and femaleness within each and every individual. Now, the idea of what you call homosexuality in your society is not right, is not wrong. It simply is a reflection of your society's lack of willingness to accept that each and every individual has the polarities of maleness and femaleness within them and to allow that to be equal. When you allow yourself to do that, you will find that there will no longer be the need for the tool of homosexuality in your society. It will not vanish because it is wrong. It will simply disappear from your society because it is no longer needed, because you are willing to accept within yourselves that you contain both sides and do not need to create a disease to force yourselves to know that all of your immunity to new ideas has been erased. You follow me?
Yes.
Will that have assisted you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bashar, the message that you just gave our friend over there, was that something that you'd be able to repeat? I'd like to write it down.
It already exists in many different ways. Allow yourself to avail yourself of the information that it already exists upon what you call your transcripts and tapes.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Hey,
Bashar,
you.
can you communicate with me? I don't know what to ask you specifically, but I want you to communicate with me.
Why?
I don't know.
All right. Do you feel you are being of service in your life?
Mm-hmm.
How?
It's the way of life.
What is being of service?
Mm-hmm.
How do you be of service?
Serving people.
How? Physically, how? What do you share with them? that allows you to know you are being of service?
I work in the development area.
Development of what?
Development area. Social economical progress. Society.
All right.
Now, preparing myself to make some work in conscious process.
Conscious process. In this way, recognize the idea of your assistance is already, in a sense, a conscious process, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
What other conscious process do you think you need, other than being of service?
I don't think I need that now.
Well then,
But I wanted to experience the communication with you.
what are you experiencing now?
Communication with you.
Well then, understand in this way that communication with us is not so much exactly the idea of communication with us. It is your willingness to allow us to act as a mirror to reflect back to you what you already know to be true. We are not here to give anyone any answers. We are only here to remind each and every one of you that you have all the answers you need. And that you chose to be where you are. That you create your reality as you see fit. And that if you know that what you are doing is true for you, then all you need to do is to continue to experience that idea. Communication with us will only be more and more willingness to be communicative with yourself. In this way, therefore, that is why we have said many times that it is not so much that you cannot ask questions. They are of service as well. They are a type of sharing. The idea is that being willing to share equally of who you are will allow more and more interaction with your society, with our society, with many other societies on a more equal footing. And the idea of equal sharing is not so much talking. It is going out and doing what it is you know to be true for you. That is communicating equally with us. Simply doing what you know you are all about. So we will thank you for your communication and simply being willing to do what you know is of service to all that is.
Actually, what I found out is I wanted through your communication with me to go beyond my belief system.
Beyond your belief system?
Yes.
How can we do that?
By communication with you, I want to see if I can go beyond my belief system. I was very scared to come into this room. To listen to you.
Why do you think so? What did you think you would find that scared you?
I don't know. Something beyond my known. Everything that is known.
Well, let that be a lesson to you. There is nothing that is beyond you. Nothing. All things, while there will be many differences that you will explore and discover in the universe, none of it is beyond your understanding. For you are all that is.
I know this is my head, but I wanted to experience it.
All right. We are sharing with you right now, and there are vibrations, and you are assimilating more of yourself. We appreciate your willingness to allow yourself to open in that way and recognize that vulnerability is not weakness. It is infinite strength.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I know you know. We are simply vibrating. And in this way, in the sharing of the vibration, allowing you to assimilate at whatever rate is comfortable for you, the understanding that there is no need to fear anything. For all fear is a message and a messenger to yourself about another portion of yourself that you wish to be aware of.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chakra of intention. Solar plexus. Heart blending. Crystallization. Thank you. Guys.
Continuing your conversation you had previously about AIDS, is there anything that you can contribute to try and bring a remedy for it?
Some ideas are already being undergone with the idea of what you call visualization therapy, and the understanding that to get in touch with the belief system can allow an individual to create whatever reality they so desire. Another idea we have shared to some degree that we do feel has a degree of validity within the mass consciousness is exploration and experimentation with the substances and juices and extracts that you call different of the berry family and cherry.
Oh, I see. Does someone have this information with?
We have simply shared this many times.
Okay.
We do not know how far it has gotten in your society.
I was just watching a program today on Donahue, where they had all the medical advisors there saying they've not really gotten onto anything that can help them at the moment.
That is simply because they are looking into the ideas of all of the complex ways that they are used to looking in and not allowing themselves to look within their hearts.
So you're saying thought and berries. Is there any particular berries and cherries that you could recommend?
Again, the idea, extract cherry, blueberry, raspberry.
And what do they do in their thought process?
They allow there to be a type of distillation that takes place within the majority of the individuals in your society that represents a cellular invigoration, a stabilization of certain enzymatic actions within the body, chemical reactions within the body, and thereby electrical neuronic interactions within the brain that can cause, to some degree, some stability and allow there to be the idea you would call an arresting of the process of disintegration.
Is it possible now to take one individual, one-on-one, who has AIDS, and use him as an example?
Yes.
But could one person do it, or do you say the whole community has to be involved?
It can begin with one individual, for any one individual is their own universe, and if you simply find that there may be an individual who will automatically, synchronistically attract themselves into such an opportunity, then they will present themselves in the right place at the right time, as have already many individuals presented themselves in the right place at the right time, undergoing the idea and attracting themselves to the individuals who are assisting it, modulating the visualization therapy, and there are many individuals who have, quote-unquote, been cured.
Can I say something?
Yes.
There's a woman in Santa Monica named Louise Hay who's written a book, You Can Heal Yourself, or You Can Heal Your Life. And she cured herself of vaginal cancer in and of herself. And then turned around and is helping many AIDS victims both privately and weekly in sessions in public.
See, nothing like this came up on the show today, isn't it?
Good.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I have very little faith in the medical society apart from surgery when it's absolutely necessary.
That is simply your definition and description of your belief system, which is just as valid as any other. We will, once again, thank you and all of you for allowing each other to be once again a synchronistic reflection of the information that you need and giving yourself the opportunity to see is right at hand within the individuals that you are surrounded with.
That's interesting. On the other hand, I mean, that's very interesting what you said about the berries overcoming AIDS. But, I mean, do you have any ideas, suggestions, how you could make this sort of a public thing?
Let us say, if we were to give you the idea of a so-called opinion or estimation, the visualization for now would be more apropos. For in this way, you will find that because the idea of the berries may involve the undertaking of what you call the medical chemists, they may be reluctant in this way to approach that until they have exhausted every other route.
So in other words, it's going to reach the end. I know you don't like predictions, but it looks like the prediction in my mind is that it's going to reach epidemic proportions before they start seeking other ways.
If that is what they wish.
Or listening to.
Yes. Although there can be what you would call, once again, quote-unquote, an underground movement which has already begun.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Okay.
Hey.
I spoke to you about my fish tank last week and fish and how they reflected my idea of the flow and contentedness in my environment.
Hey.
But a lot of them have died, and they can, in a sense, they're reflecting death as change,
all right.
rapidity of change within myself.
Having served as the symbols you required, they move on.
Right. Is there any way more? I don't know.
You are not restricted by a bowl.
It's not a bowl, it's a 30-gallon rectangular tank.
Same.
A big bowl.
Move beyond the boundaries of what you think is the reality in which you exist. For They have done so. They are swimming beyond the boundaries of physical reality, through the glass and beyond.
Bashar, do you know of the works of Jane Roberts and of the spirit that came through her set?
To some degree.
He described in great length a concept called the entity and the cells that derived from the entity. Do you know what I'm speaking of?
There are variations in your definition.
I'm sure.
Can you be more specific?
Well, that's what I was hoping that you would, because I was trying to understand the concept within the book.
Oh! All right. Thank you. What remains of your tape?
3-4 minutes.
After your break.
Thank
You may all take a short break. I'll see! Repeat and define the idea you are familiar with in the way you have stated it.
It is the concept of there's an entity, and from the entity comes cells. And the cells, because there is no past or future,
There is simultaneous manifestation of what might be termed, in a sense, an oversoul, projecting itself in a myriad number of simultaneous existences that take on different aspects, different perspectives, and reflect different points of view of the same single oversoul entity in this way, and manifest in whatever type of framework reality is necessary for the experience that the overall entity wishes to have of itself, whether it be the creation of a past, present, or future, or alternate structural dimensional experience. All is perceived by the singular entity that any one of its fragments is a part of to be one simultaneous knowing experience.
Are there many entities? Or?
In a sense, yes, there are divisions of divisions of divisions of divisions of divisions. And in this way, you can recognize that there is one all that is, and at the same time, the one all that is recognizes itself to be one, and at the same time recognizes itself to be the combination of all the divisions it is, all the entities it is, all the fragments of all the entities it is.
Okay, so all the entities belong to the whole and the one.
All is the one.
All is.
In its multi-dimensional, multifaceted, simultaneously manifested ways of existence. Everything is the same one thing, manifesting in all the different ways it can at the same time, in a sense. You follow me?
Yes. I'm also wondering, there's no beginning and end then, right?
Not really, although those illusions can be created in a time frame structure, spatial frame structure, such as the one in which you have projected yourself to exist. You can create the illusion of a beginning and an end in that way, and within the structure they are, in a sense, real beginnings and real endings, because you define that there can be such an idea in your reality. But in an overall sense, no, existence simply is and always is existence.
Then getting on to something like, in an astrological term, of our universe, that the Big Bang Theory would not apply because there's...
Oh, it can, because that can simply be representative of one particularly physically manifesting universe, as a particular way in which it chose to express itself into a particular type of existence. It is just as valid and just as real and just as true as all the different ways that all the different universes have created their own manifestation from the consciousness that supports them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Good.
Well, what do you mean by the consciousness that supports a universe?
You are creating the universe. All that is created you. You create the universe of your experience.
You're not speaking then of the universe to be a sun with its planets?
That is a solar system and is part of the universe, and in a sense, you create that.
In a sense, I create that, but who created the sun with the planets?
the mass combined consciousness of all of the fragments that you are as a system. In other words, there is a collective entity that is represented by all the individuals on your planet that have ever existed on your planet or will ever exist on your planet, and all the other dimensions of existence on any of the other planets that make up your system. This combined entity creates the creation of the idea of an expression of its consciousness that you recognize as stars and planets. It is, in a sense, let us say, just to be colloquial, a miniature God, so to speak, within the all that is God, so to speak.
Where does this energy that becomes this overall source to create a universe come from? How does it evolve to what it is?
It simply is. It is the primal, fundamental, foundational energy that permeates all that is. The impingement of consciousness upon that energy can allow it to take what you would call the illusion of solid matter mass forms. Solidified energy, if you will, but the energy is everywhere.
If an entity or an energy force was to say, today I want to create a universe with a sun and a solar system, can that happen?
Yes, it does all the time.
It does.
Yes.
All right, where does the idea or the
entity
of the energy
is the idea. The entity is
the idea
and becomes the entire experience of that system.
Could I do that?
On many levels, you do. Understand, the you think you are now, by definition, is a fragment of the overall entity that created the system in which you as a fragment are having an experience.
Okay, I'm a fragment of this overall system. Is that overall system my oversoul? Or is that
It is one level of an oversoul, one type of an oversoul. There are many different divisions. They are all relatively arbitrary, but you do create them to be real as you decide to need them to be real divisions. There are levels upon levels upon levels, ad infinitum.
Now does this oversoul divide, and then the divisions of it create a universe?
In a sense, yes. Very good.
Let me ask you another question.
Oh, right.
How many times have I been incarnated?
Several thousands, at least. We cannot pin down what you would call a finite number. And that is only in what you call the Earth plane. That has nothing to do with parallel Earths. It has nothing to do with alternate dimensions. It has nothing to do with other civilizations.
Now, did you answer this question from the point of my oversoul, or from my ego, or the fragment that I am of the oversoul?
I answered it from the general combination, general pool oversoul of your entire society. That recognizes that all of its fragments, or most of its fragments, I shall say, have incarnated many, many hundreds, if not thousands of times.
As a fragment, can you tell me how many times I have incarnated?
You, as a fragment, have only incarnated once.
Once.
You are not the same fragment in all the other incarnations. The you are here is the only time you were ever this you. So in a sense, when you say you only live one life, that is true for any specific fragment. The idea of reincarnation in that way involves a totally different personality structure, and therefore literally is not technically the same as you. But it is a part of the same oversoul energy.
What the term ascension?
Yes.
How do you define that?
Can be defined in a few ways. One way that we perceive it within the mass consciousness that you are is an acceleration of your energy, a cognition, an expansion of your awareness of more of yourself, and thereby the resultant reflection or action in your life as if you are, in fact, being more of yourself. It is an alignment to more of yourself. It is the channeling of more of yourself, more energy present, more manifestation in your life.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce. Then you.
As a fragment in this lifetime, as myself,
Hey.
when I pass on, as a fragment, what happens
of many different things. There are also the creation in your reality of many different levels, so to speak, even in non-physical reality. And they can range all the way from not even knowing you are dead, all the way up to leaving this entire system altogether. You follow me?
Yes.
Anything in between. There are many different opportunities, many different exciting experiences that you have created for yourself many times in what you would call in between your physical lives.
But as the fragment, when I pass on, do I become part of the entity?
In a sense, yes, but this does not mean, although I know this may be quote-unquote difficult for many of you to understand, it does not mean that you lose the individuality. You still can at any time claim cognition and perception through that particular window, for it always exists.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hey.
There's a woman in New Mexico who gives you experiences of past lives, so I've read in a book, with acupuncture.
Hey.
Now, what I can't understand is if you have fragments and you never come back to this life as the same personality.
But it is a part of the same oversoul energy.
All right.
So one fragment is connected to the other fragments in the same way that each and every one of your fingers can be traced back to the same hand. So you can find, in a sense, another finger by going from one finger up through the hand and down into another finger. They are connected on some level.
Yes, but what she does is give you pictures in your...
That is what you create for yourself.
What you create.
From the stimulation of the energy that you are allowing that individual to assist you within.
Okay, well, if you put faces to them,
yeah.
How come the faces would be recognizable if they're not the same?
Because you have a sense of energy recognition. Many times, as you do in what you call your dreams, you do recognize that you are dealing with someone you are familiar with, even though they do not, quote-unquote, look as they do in physical life. You simply recognize that they may have been many, many, many different aspects, and the aspect is different, and you recognize it to be different, but the vibrational signature of the soul is the same. And in many cases, that is how we, quote-unquote, recognize some of you. Even though you may go through many changes, the signature soul vibration does not change that much.
Well, all right. The other question I had is, how come the sun doesn't burn out? If it's on, it's a fire, isn't it?
It is what you would call, physically speaking, a nuclear reaction. Thus, in a sense, it will, quote-unquote, burn out, but its lifespan is measured in what you would call tens of millions of years.
So the temperature really doesn't vary that much, does it?
Oh, it does fluctuate. But in an overall sense, you can say there is an average.
So it gets hotter and colder and hotter and colder.
So to speak.
It doesn't go colder on down. Like, for example, if it's burning out, the amount of heat it's putting off should be less.
It will be. In time.
Not in my lifetime, of course.
Not in this fragmentary lifetime. No.
Okay.
You are, in your own estimation, approximately, quote-unquote, halfway through the life of your particular central star. As long as it has burned, quote-unquote, burned, it will burn for that much longer.
I think I put this question to you before. What is this game all about?
Again, recognize, it is about learning that this kind of game exists. That you can experience it and add to, from the overall entity, oversoul point of view, that much more cognition of all the different ways you can experience all that is. I know that from the point of view you are as a fragment, you have created a society that seeks to find the purposes behind everything. But in this way, the idea you call purpose is your invention. And therefore it came after the creation. And that which created creation existed, quote-unquote, before, so to speak, the creation of your invention of purpose. Therefore, that which has existed before purpose does not need a purpose to do anything. It does it because it is what it is. The idea that when you chose to explore this, you chose to explore limitation from the viewpoint of being, let us say, just to be colloquial in your language, perhaps a little more definitive, you chose this idea as a mass collective entity. So while it may not seem to make too much sense to the fragments that the entity became To the entity, it makes sense, because to the entity, it is an overall experience that adds to its enrichment and understanding of itself.
Very good. Now, what about if the soul is projected so it's down here to have a certain experience, and it doesn't occur? Does that mean he reincarnates again and tries again, or what?
Oh, it does occur.
Oh, it has to occur.
In a sense, yes. Whatever occurs is what needs to occur. And that adds to the overall knowledge of the entity.
And is that the purpose that he decided on before he came down, or did he...
Generally.
Yeah.
General experiences are determined in that way by the oversoul or higher self. The actual specifics of how you go through that general experience are up to the free will that is bequeathed to you from the oversoul as a physical construct. How you experience the idea is up to you. The oversoul experiences all that you choose to do, positive and negative, as learning.
Mm-hmm.
It does not judge.
At what point do we realize where we came from during this procedure?
Any point you wish to.
It's like you can realize it now or when you die.
Correct.
And what will bring this about?
You.
I know, but how?
The fact that you are even aware that it is possible has already brought it about. All you have to do is believe that it has, and your physical reality will begin to reflect that you believe that. You simply are not acting like you believe that it has. So you're not giving yourself an opportunity to create a type of physical reality that reinforces it with feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But you are doing that, actually. And bit by bit, you are doing it more and more. Because you are agreed upon to be in this life, in this civilization, at this transformational time. Therefore, by definition, simply because you are exploring what you are exploring, it means you are exactly perfectly in the right place at the right time that you need to be, and learning exactly what you need to know at exactly the rate you need to know it. So relax.
Easy for you to say.
Yes, it was. And it is just as easy to do when you allow yourself to stop treating the phrase easy to you to say as something like a fundamental law of the universe. It is just as easy to do as it is to say. When you begin to say that, it will become so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You, then you.
Then if we look at our past lives, for example, we don't really need our physical brain to look at those past lives.
You, in a sense, as a fragment, may require the utilization of your physical brain in order to create an interpretation that your physical consciousness can understand. But as a consciousness, no. You could perceive directly the idea of yourself as any one of those past fragments. In order to have a physical understanding, you will need to utilize the brain to create symbols that you can understand as a physical being.
Okay, but so the soul carries or accumulates all these experiences, or is all these experiences all at once.
Yes.
And that's like a non-volatile memory bank, and it's also non-physical, which is... So it's like the universe is really basically a memory bank?
Well, in a sense, but understand, it is not that the soul is a memory bank, because your idea memory implies that it has to stretch into a past. To the soul, it is all simultaneous. It is not remembering so much in that way. It simply is knowing what it is in a different aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Bashar, I'm intrigued by the idea of energy transference as it applies to passing on and maybe becoming a new, person or entity, and our awareness of that fact. It seems that it's even possible that our consciousness in one lifetime may not be, the same as the other, although I know it's all one.
We understand.
Okay.
There are many possible ways.
Yeah.
And many more ways are becoming more probable to your civilization.
Okay.
You are ending your self-imposed linear karmic cycle.
Limitation.
So there are many more methodologies of interacting with your Earth sphere than there used to be.
Is our awareness, as we move through thousands of years in different forms, is it a like you say, we're not the same person. We only go through life once as we are, and then we go through it again as something else.
Yes, but the soul contains, again, the experience.
Okay, the higher self or whatever contains all,
Yes.
all of it.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we contain all of everything.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Turn.
Sure.
Yes.
I had it on the tip of my tongue when she was talking then about when you. I have to drop it for a moment.
Sure. You were saying.
I am looking at
Please forgive me.
Oh, nothing to forgive. Have you picked it up yet?
No.
Oh. Yes.
You were saying that the oversoul knows all that is, or comprehends it, or is aware of it.
In a sense.
Then why does it need the fragments to experience it?
Because it is one way it can. Again, you are looking for a purpose. The only purpose it needs is that it can do it. Period. That is justification enough. It is one way to experience all that is.
Bashar?
So you thought it would be
No, and it's really a bit.
when you made the original decision.
Really?
You are having a good time. Yeah, but what? Are you also?
Very hard.
Then you are only choosing to reinforce that it is not as simple as you can believe.
I know it, and that's what's the bitch.
As soon as you allow yourself to know that everything you experience in your life is there for a reason and there as a part of the positive idea you desire to be, then you will begin to experience it as such. Again, every situation is fundamentally neutral. There is no such thing as a situation that has built-in meaning. You give it the meaning, and the meaning you give it determines the effect you get out of it. So when you are willing to cease making the assumption that there can even possibly be such a thing as a situation that could occur in your life that would be an interruption in your flow, when you cease that point of view, then you will only allow yourself to know that every situation, yes, I mean every situation, is there as a part of your positive flow. And then that is the only way you will allow yourself to experience it. Period. Fuck you.
It works.
Thank you. That is the thing we can guarantee 100%. It does, in fact, work if you let it. Always. 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 Oh, did I mention always? Oh, thank you for reminding me. It always works.
Bashar.
Yes! Are you still looking?
I would like to ask you about a health thing that has been bothering me. At different times, sometimes my scalp is really dry and it bothers me. And other times, I don't think about it and it seems like there's no problem. And I think there's an emotional tie there. And could it also be a dietary thing?
Oh, there could be some association with that, but our original perception in this way, let us say, the way we perceive your energy, is that it is more the idea of allowing your mentality to become a little bit too fevered. Thinking hard.
Thinking too hard.
Yes. It will burn you out, dry you up.
The bull.
More than just eating too much sugar or bad things that are...
Do understand that we are saying that there may be a connection, but the idea of ingesting some of those substances is more of a reaction to what is already going on within your mentality.
Being attracted to certain foods that I eat
Yes.
because of the
Yes.
emotion.
Yes. What are you so fevered about? What are you in such a hurry about? You are eternal. What's the rush?
I don't know.
At times I don't feel rushed at all.
All right.
And I feel very peaceful.
Then that is probably when you are lubricated. And very soon.
Thank you. Can I ask something else?
You just have.
Okay. I was recently traveling and at places where I was up very high in the mountains hiking, and did not find very much fear in being up in mountains and nature, but many times I've been on top of buildings where I've looked out from a 10-story building that seems very high, and I seem to have a fear looking down from man-made structures, but not from mountains or cliffs.
That is because you believe that, quote-unquote, man and woman-made structures are not natural.
Was there ever a time that I ever experienced a death from falling?
Yes.
Is there something I need to deal with that and being comfortable being from a high place? Or is it okay just to be there and look down and be fearful and continue that for whatever reason that has?
You may simply find that as you continue to hike through your life, you will encounter all the different portions of yourself that need to be integrated, and you may simply find one day that as you look down from one of your structures, the fear is gone. You have integrated it. You have climbed the mountain within yourself.
I have a real feeling that I could jump off and fly. And either that I've been a flying creature or have done things in piloting different crafts and vehicles and have
some of
flown.
that, and also the idea that you have a strong attachment to your astral out-of-body projection experiences. It is not impossible. However, I would not suggest pushing it. For it is not necessarily that you have a very strong attachment within the idea of that belief reality at this time. However, we understand the feeling that you mean. And bit by bit, it will accelerate and acclimate into your reality as you allow each and every one of yourselves to become more and more beings of light, which is what you are, but you do not think so. As you allow yourselves to think of yourselves more and more of beings of light, then you will not have any weight to be pulled down. Then you will fly, in a sense. You are simply precognizing and recognizing the blending of your past and future and accelerating in the present in that way. You may, in your life, have spontaneous, what you would call teleportations from time to time, or spontaneous levitations. These can become more and more common in your society as you enter fourth density. Simply go with them according to the idea of the timing as to when they naturally occur. No need to fling yourself. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ah! Did you dust it off?
Yes.
Thank you. Do share.
What it was have I ever incarnated as an extraterrestrial?
Yes. Now, as to whether you wish to consider that a past tense or a future tense is up to you. In a sense, it is both. Do recognize that in an overall sense, none of you are quote-unquote original to your planet.
How many planes can we incarnate on?
As many as you wish.
Oh, really?
Really.
So
You are unlimited. You are infinite.
Why do I choose here?
Well, this is one of the places you have chosen. Do not forget that they are all going on at the same time. Even the ones in the past and the future are going on at the same time, so to speak. This is simply one viewpoint, and simply by the definition of this viewpoint, you may not have as much realization as you will have that you do in fact exist on all the other planes you have chosen at the same time. Simply because that is the definition of this particular fragment, to not know that until now.
Okay. Is it possible for me to be in 2 or 3 different bodies at the same time on
In
this
a sense,
plane?
yes.
On this plane.
Yes.
Interesting. So
There are already variations and versions of this idea that are called counterparts. The idea is that a counterpart is another fragment, another physical form that you would recognize as a separate individual from yourself that is in fact a part of the same soul and responsible for your fragment and the fragment of that other individual or other individual. It is the same thing as having a past life and a future life, except it exists in the same time frame, and this is quite common. The average idea is that many of you may have, well, at least 3 or 4, if not more. Many times you have interacted with them without ever gaining a sense that they are your counterparts. You do not have to feel attracted to a counterpart. You may even have created scenarios where you were in opposition to your counterparts, but that was the purpose of creating that reflection.
Crazy people we are.
Very creative, yes.
Yes.
But that idea is not uncommon at all. You will find that idea in many civilizations. It is quite a natural thing.
And how many souls are there?
Oh.
Well,
1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It depends on what level you're looking.
well, I'm interested to get some idea of the.
All right.
Of this universe.
All right. One moment.
One less.
One more. Our immediate perception, now this fluctuates very rapidly. Our immediate perception for now is that out of roughly, the approximately 5 billion physical incarnated fragments upon your planet, those 5 billion physical beings represent roughly, within the immediate influence of the energy of your planet, approximately 3 million souls.
Wow.
So there are that many counterparts.
Wow. I had a funny feeling there was something strange going on here.
Now that is within one particular immediate level, but it is the level to which we were attracted, so we will assume that that is the answer that makes the most sense and has the most validity for this interaction at this time.
Okay, but that gives me an idea of how many counterparts there are on the Earth.
Ah. Okay. It is everywhere and nowhere. It is all right here and now. Space and time are illusions in that sense. It is all within you. You are holographic in that sense. The universe is holographic. That is, any point within the hologram contains the information for the whole hologram. Follow me?
Yes.
That is the way the universe is. It is all one and the same thing in every fragment.
Getting back to the plane we're living on,
Yes.
if I wanted to find a counterpart and come up and say, hey, I know you, how would I go about that?
Use your instinct, your intuition, and your imagination and your meditation to divine for yourself what purpose that would serve. And then you will simply find yourself attracted, and you will simply give yourself the indications that are necessary. You will know when it is necessary to know. Sometimes you will go through the experience and then know, because to know during the experience may not serve the experience. But you will know when you need to know.
I see.
And again, it is all relatively arbitrary, so many times you will find that you simply do not need to know.
No, I gather that, but I'm just interested.
There are
in
times
any
when you can know.
way you can know. Very good. So
One moment. Now, this may not be exactly as literal as the counterpart idea we have already defined. There may be some fluctuation of associations of fragments in different ways according to different contracts, different agreements, and different purposes for which this is being served. But our immediate perception is that within the individuals gathered this evening of your time, with specific reference to the fragment that you are, you have between 3 and 5 connections in this room.
Is that right?
But it is within a degree of fluctuating interaction. There are, let us say, some that represent more solid counterparts as we have defined them, and a few that are fluctuating in and out of the agreement because they only need to interact as, let us say, a moderate associative way. So in a sense, they may be from the same basic soul source, but there can also be the splitting off of soul energy into a totally different soul ramification that has its own projection, which then you may relate to as quote-unquote distant cousins, and can be viewed as counterparts of a different type.
We're going to have a good laugh when this is all over, aren't we?
Oh, you're having a good laugh now. At least I am.
I mean, in other words, some of our
yes.
Our wives might be our counterparts.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, yes, yes. And your children, and your parents,
and your enemies,
and your so-called enemies, very often, many times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar,
yes.
Can you give a definition of evil and how you see it to be working in our lives?
The description you call evil is only a judgmental labeling of what you perceive to be negative energy. Nothing is evil. There are expressions of negative energy, negative effect, and negative affectation that are reflections or representations of a desire to separate the self from the rest of all that is. If you wish a definition, then that is quote-unquote evil. But that is all it is. Does that assist you?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Well, what about murder and rape and
all right.
all that kind of stuff?
Thank you. Do recognize that in what we are about to say, there may be many preconceived ideas and notions within you. So, allow yourself to perceive that what we are saying in this way is not an excusing of what you would perceive to be the perpetrator. However, the idea of what you would call a so-called victim is someone who has created within themselves a belief and or fear, which is the same thing as a belief, that that can be a reality for them. Thus, in a sense, they create it by attracting it. Now, this does not mean that that excuses the so-called perpetrator that is attracted to create the victim to be a victim through the victim's fear of being able to be a victim. But in this way, it is an opportunity for the so-called perpetrator to also stand fast within their own self-empowerment, their own strength, and refuse to heed the call sent out by the victim. Refuse to give away their power in that way. Refuse to take the victim's power in that way. Not being willing to play that game. Understand that the idea of, like any polarity, victim and perpetrator is two sides of the same event, the same action. Therefore, because a so-called victim radiates the idea into their reality that they can be a victim, that they can be victimized, and that they believe that that is the strongest possible reality they can experience, that radiation attracts the individuals who are not strong enough within themselves to recognize that they are as powerful as they need to be to get anything they want without having to hurt anyone else to get it. Therefore, in a sense, the perpetrator is the victim's victim. And therefore the victim is, in a sense, a perpetrator, just as much as any perpetrator is. When individuals on both sides of that polarity recognize that they do, A, create their own reality, and B, are self-empowered enough to have any kind of a reality they so desire, without having to hurt anyone else to get it, there will be no more perpetrators and no more victims. Those two things is all it takes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You.
Well, okay, I was thinking, but what about the family surrounding?
That is all a choice. To be attracted to that individual, who then gives that family an opportunity to come to terms with fears and beliefs within themselves for having participated in that idea. Now, a family in that way simply may, for many reasons, have attracted themselves to that individual. For in this sense, You may find that many of these ideas may be the quote-unquote carryovers or momentums or results of other lives that they wish to balance out in another life, in a particular life, and it may simply be that if they know they have attracted or are creating such an experience for themselves in that way, they have drawn around them the family that they need to experience that with them, to learn from that experience, and or have supported them and helped them up to the point of that experience to allow them to enable themselves, once they have had the experience, and perhaps if it leads to what you call death, once they are on the other side, the non-physical side, to learn and gain from that experience, and also perhaps interact as spirit guides for those that are left behind in physical reality. There are many agreements as there are individuals. It depends upon the contract that has been written as to why those individuals are together and experiencing what they are experiencing. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes, you, then you.
Two questions. First, are my wife and I counterparts?
Why?
I was reading in Seth's book the other night about counterparts, and suddenly that idea just popped into my head.
Then for now it will do. Again, it is an arbitrary distinction, but recognize that if you find yourself attracted to it, then that is the way you need to relate to it to allow you to proceed and progress through your own process. Simply trust that whatever sparks within your imagination is the tool you need. Follow it, for it will lead you to more of yourself in the way you chose to be led.
Okay. Second question is, why am I fat?
In this way, many times, we will simply give you the overall understanding and the mass consciousness understanding that we have, as there is a wonderfully creative, parallel, symbolic interpretation in your particular language that goes along with it that we have utilized many times. And it will explain, by analogy, some of the idea. Individuals who are not willing to do what it is that excites them the most are waiting to do. Thus, they attract all that energy, and rather than let it out, they allow it to transform into mass because they don't use it. When you begin to do what it is that excites you, your activity level will increase in that way, and you will begin to channel all that energy through you, and it will not collect around you and turn into mass. When you stop waiting, then you will not carry excess weight.
Sure.
Has that served you?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I was just going to say, diet must have something to do with that. Is it?
Oh, yes, but in this way, do recognize that the idea, once again, of what you call diet is only a reflection after the fact of how you think of yourself. For many individuals will find that many times they may eat and eat and eat and eat and never gain a pound, or they may starve themselves and never lose weight. It depends upon the idea they are carrying of themselves and why they think they need to make an attachment and an association with the idea of the sustenance, that which sustains them. To some degree there will be some fluctuation, but that is not the core of the beginning of the creation of that idea. It is primarily that most of the individuals, with a few exceptions, are simply not doing what it is that would excite them the most. You will find that when you are doing what excites you the most, your diet will regulate itself quite naturally. You will simply eat what you know you need to eat. And your weight level will maintain an even balance.
Why doesn't that manifest in other people that are waiting or not doing what excites them, but it doesn't, they might still...
Different individuals manifest different things in different ways. One moment. Do you follow me?
Well, if I...
Let's put it this way. Let me put it this way. Would you prefer the idea of excess weight or migraines or ulcers or cancer? Yes. Obviously you have made your choice. Therefore, relax.
Alright, so then really any of those are manifestations.
Can be representative of that idea, yes. They all represent the so-called blockages of your energy, which only occur and appear to be blockages because you are simply not willing to trust that what excites you the most is valid in your life, and that you will be supported in the doing of it automatically. That is all there is to it. It is that simple.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Along those lines, I don't believe it has to be as dramatic as
Oh, no, of course
migraine
not.
or being
No.
overweight or
No.
whatever.
No.
It just when you were talking about it, it was so great. I had this recognition, I guess it was a recognition, that at this time in my life, I am so inspired to write.
Yes.
And I'm at such peace with that. That is what excites me the most
Oh.
when I'm doing it.
Thank you.
And I found just in this conversation that when I'm not doing that,
Yes.
the way that manifests in my life is negative thought, negativity, and
Yes.
in harmony with life in my thinking. But when I'm doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing,
Yes.
and exciting me,
Yes.
it's like a freedom from that.
Excitement is your barometer that lets you know that you are doing what it is that represents the path you chose to be.
And nothing's getting stored up in me, which causes all the negativity.
Correct.
Right. Okay, I wanted to share that.
Thank you.
It manifests in so many different ways.
And?
Okay, the other thing I wanted to get back on victimization.
Yes.
Retrospectively, if you were a victim,
Yes.
and now an adult trying to deal with that,
Yes.
I can see how you could just like kiss it off, but as just being all part of life experience that you needed to experience. But and another part of me says you need to work it out and
Your choice.
Right. But the
one is not better than another way.
Okay, the typical manner in dealing with that is going to therapy or group therapy or whatever, and it just seems like all that stuff is so trivial and petty.
Not for the individuals going through it.
Yeah, I'm speaking for myself.
All right.
If it's
then you are simply stating that you know what you prefer for you. That does not mean you have to judge what is valid for others.
Oh no, I'm not even judging what's
All right.
valid.
Then it is not trivial or petty.
No, just for myself.
Not even for yourself. It simply isn't the idea that you are. That doesn't make it trivial or petty. It simply makes it not you.
I'm not even sure if those are the right words.
We understand.
Feeling, right.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yeah.
I'm preoccupied with the pending earthquake.
Oh, pending.
And I'm concerned about my sister because I know she's real afraid of it. And I'm afraid that her fear, well, I have some fear too. When you're afraid of something like that, the more fear you have, can you attract things you're afraid of?
You are reinforcing it. That's the idea.
Because you're believing it.
Yes. To fear that something is real is to say that you believe that that is the most likely reality to occur.
And what if you really do believe that's the most likely reality? I mean,
then that is what you will experience.
So you just have to change your belief, unless you want to experience.
Understand that if you are cognizant that that may be within you the most likely reality, then ask yourself, how would it serve you if that was your experience? If you can glean the understanding of why you would think that you would teach yourself something in that way, then perhaps you can allow yourself to recognize there may be other ways to get the same message. And then you won't have to let that be the only way you will receive the message. Then you can utilize your imagination and simply understand that if you know you will accept all the messages you are giving yourself, then you will simply allow yourself to be attracted to wherever you need to be so as not to participate in that experience should it occur.
Okay. And is there some way that, now, am I making it worse for my sister by being concerned about her being afraid?
Well, in a sense, although you cannot really affect someone else's reality, but you can, in a sense, give off the impression of the reinforcement that they do have something to be afraid of. Thank you.
Bashar?
Yay!
Fragments and guides. Are guides fragments of the oversoul?
Can be. Do not have to be. Can be.
Well, what are they if they're not?
Other souls.
Total oversoul.
Can be.
Can you amplify that a little bit? Like maybe observing my guides and tell me, are they fragments or are they souls?
Let's say if you had 7 of them, 3 of them could be counterpart type fragments. 2 could be associative souls, ones that you have had many life experiences with before that are not part of the same oversoul as you.
All right.
1 could be an alternate version of yourself, an idea, so to speak, of a future and or past you coming from that point of view, and or an alternate dimension expression of another form of your oversoul, not exactly what you would call a counterpart, but perhaps from another level altogether, something beyond the immediate oversoul. And the last one would be something possibly that you would call completely detached, that comes from somewhere else entirely, outside of what you would call the earth experience realm.
How or when does a...
That is how it generally can average out. This will fluctuate.
How or when does a fragment or a soul decide to be a guide to a fragment or another soul?
It can be done in the moment. It can be set up prior to the physical life. The timing does not matter. It will be activated when necessary.
What causes the necessity? My thoughts or theirs?
Perhaps the idea that you wish such an interaction, and, on their part, a desire to partake in such an interaction. Both are necessary to have the interaction.
Angels.
Right.
What are they relative to a oversoul? Or
generally, they are representative of either aspects of your higher consciousness and or other consciousnesses, not immediately a part of your own soul, that can, let's say, generally be said to be the aspects of consciousness that have never experienced physical reality at all.
So Lazarus could be an angel.
In a sense, yes.
Do angels participate with the fragments that are incarnated?
Oh, yes.
In what way?
Whatever way is necessary to assist those fragments in whatever purposes they have created their lives to be. But relatively, usually, unobtrusively. Because the idea of any kind of a guide is to lead the one you are leading to more of that self, so that they function as their own guide and do not need another guide to assist them. So the paradox of a spirit guide is usually one that allows you to be led to more of yourself so that you can function as your own recognizable guide and become equal to the guide that has given you an assistance.
When I become equal to that guide.
You are equal now.
All right. When I recognize that I'm equal.
Yes.
At what function do I then serve?
Whatever you wish. Be of service in whatever way excites you.
Do I then have guides that are at a higher level?
Can, yes. If that is what excites you, yes. Again, there is always consciousness available to interact with you in whatever type of interaction excites you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Hey!
I recently injured my knee.
Hey.
And I've been told by doctors that I'm going to have about a year of physical therapy. I'm wondering what I can do.
What occurred to you in your imagination first? What would you like to do first?
It seems like there could be things that I could wrap it with. I know.
Such as, trust.
Names.
Such as,
I don't know the name.
trust. You do not have to know the names to know you can attract them into your life, and they will be obvious to you when they arrive.
Okay.
If you simply know that that is something you can do, you will always attract yourself, as you may have done this night of your time, as there may be individuals willing to share information with you that can be of service to you in this way. You will always attract yourself exactly to the right place, the right time, and interact with exactly the right individuals to assist in reflecting to you what you need to support the idea you are trusting that you are being. So simply know that without needing analytical cognition, you will simply always receive the opportunity to recognize the things that will assist you. You follow me? If that is what moves you most strongly, that particular methodology, then simply take it for granted that you will, in no uncertain terms and very rapidly, find yourself being given the ingredients that you need simply by having been putting out the energy that is what you need. Now that you have been willing to share that idea, there are individuals who recognize your particular situation, your particular vibration, and are more than willing to assist you with their knowledge. Again, it is not that that knowledge has to be absolute in your eyes, but it can always allow you to be comfortable with your imagination and also the information they share with you in whatever way, shape, or form you feel most comfortable with. Can be the attraction of information from individuals, can be that you will walk up to what you call one of your books. It'll be exactly the book you need. You will turn exactly to the page you need, and there will be the information that you need. It can manifest in many different ways. All you need to do is trust that you will have what you need, and you will.
And trust that my knee will really recover.
Yes. Again, the universe does not do pointless things. And the idea is that if you know the manifestation of that desire is relevant to the idea of the balancing of your knee, then you can simply understand that in many cases, as it may be in your case, the idea of having done that to your knee may simply be for the purpose of allowing you to take advantage of your own trust. And you may find that many times it may not even have to play all the way out. And as soon as you are willing to take advantage of your own trust, by the time you get the ingredients, the knee is already healed. Because that is what the purpose of the injury was all about. Just trust. Follow me. Thank you! Oh my, what a coincidence. Hey!
Back to the guide question.
All right.
Are there negative guides, so-called negative guides, that help like criminals perpetuate their lifestyle? In other words, are there guides?
There are consciousnesses that can desire to express the idea of negativity. In this way, like anything, first of all, recognize this. No one, no guide, positive and or so-called negative, can possibly influence anyone that does not agree to create the illusion of being influenced. But they are creating the illusion themselves. Therefore, the idea of a guide is more of the idea of an association, and if an individual is willing to explore the idea of negativity in that way, then any other consciousness that is choosing to explore that idea can form a type of association with any other individual, forming that type of a reality for themselves. So in that sense, you can say, yes, there may be negative guides, but in that way, it is simply because that what you decide to be is the quote-unquote crowd you hang out with. You follow me?
Yes, I do. Supposing that like a criminal deviant did hook up with a so-called negative guide, how could he break that connection? Would he have the choice to break that?
Of course, always.
Okay.
Again, recognize this, however. By definition, most of the idea of what you would call non-physicality, by definition implies that it is quote-unquote balanced, and therefore usually does not express itself negatively. Therefore, what would usually be perceived by you in your civilization as a so-called non-physical negative guide is usually an extension of the consciousness of the individual and not a separate entity.
The individual on the physical plane.
Yes. Because beyond fourth density, by definition, it is almost not possible to express negativity because you are completely integrating.
So that person would be tapping into that information and putting his own negative meaning to it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you! It is another manifestation of the degree to which you can create separation.
Okay.
And give it life.
Sure.
Because you are the creator. Yeah.
Well, this will be a good example of that.
In a sense, yes. The willingness to act as a reflection for a large percentage of mass consciousness fear and negativity, and channel that through himself.
Was he a channel?
Everyone is.
Okay, but was he at a channel in the sense that he used to sit down and
No.
open up?
More of a channel in the sense that he was willing to not recognize his own self-empowerment, willing in that way to express the idea of everyone else's lack of belief in their own self-empowerment and express that back to them. Channeling the fears of your civilization.
And where is he now? Is he back on the earth?
No. There is no reason for you to hope not. For understand in this way, again, the idea is fundamentally neutral. And that individual allowed your society to come to terms with many of its fears. Now, the energy, as we perceive it, of that individual after having taken on that particular type of manifestation is that what you would colloquially call the soul that was incarnated as that being is still in what you would call a rest state. For in this way, according to the belief systems at the time it entered the non-physical plane, there could not be a quick transformation out of all the negativity that was experienced by that individual, and it will take some time for what you would call repair. Then it will have an opportunity to become completely polarized and balanced in the opposite way, and express as much light and love as it expressed negativity, limitation, and separation. Quickly.
No, just to be quick, I was just thinking a lot about fear. It seems to be coming up a lot tonight, and I've been thinking about it a lot myself.
Oh, right. Once again, simply let me remind you. Fear, the negative portion that you experience in this way, is only judgment of messages that are coming to yourself from yourself about portions of yourself you simply have not been willing to face. Recognize that fear is a messenger. It always and can only ever bring you a portion of yourself that is yet simply one more portion you can add to the total being that you are and integrate within you, thus allowing you to expand. So do not judge your fear, and it will not bring with it a negative manifestation in your life. It will not bring with it a negative effect. You follow me? Thank you! Make a friend of every portion of you. In this way you will allow yourself to become a unified individual, and that, as a knowing, complete individual, is what will allow the total mass consciousness to unify itself. Once again, the granting of validity and equality to all the differences within your society is what will create the unity that you seek. We extend our appreciation and our unconditional love to you in allowing us to experience the unique and lovely manifestations of all that is that each and every one of you are individually and collectively. We bid you exciting dream lives and life dreams. We bid you a fond and loving good night.